What's up, YouTube? Daniel Carter at AfroHerpkeeper, finally back with another reptile room tour. As it's been about 6 months since the last video, I've been getting an increasing number of requests to film another, and we are about to hit 500,000 views on the May room tour, which is just incredible. It's almost unbelievable. But anyways, I'm here with one of my newer additions, an Argentine black and white Tagu, who you guys get to meet later in the video. Along with this guy, I've got some other large lizards, some geckos, a few turtles, snakes, a tortoise, and a bunch of amphibians to show you guys. There's a giant lizard on my head, and I'm really excited to get started. So, without any further ado, let's go check out my room. As we walk into the room, it's pretty apparent that almost everything has changed. We're going to start over here to the left at this huge tower of vision cages. In the bottom cage right down here, I am proud to introduce to you guys an animal that's been featured in a few videos already, but was not here for the last reptile room tour, and he is an Argentine black and white Tagu. This right here is Blue. In the few months that I've had him, he has become just about my favorite animal. It seems like every big reptile YouTuber has an Argentine Tagu, and I am no exception. These are one of the friendliest, most personable reptiles you can own. A lot of people actually consider them to be the smartest reptiles on Earth, as they can learn their names, they can be potty trained, and they'll come when called. And they're actually the only reptile species proven to be warm-blooded. So Blue over here eats once every few days, and he gets a mixture of raw ground turkey, eggs, and occasionally berries, fruits, and things like that. This is a fiberglass vision cage with glass front panels. Over here we've got an 18-inch Reptisun UVB bulb. I believe it's a 5.0. Here's a big ceramic hide for him. Over here he's got some fake vegetation. I believe this is grapevine, and of course in front he's got a big water bowl. This is large enough for him to lie down in and take a bath. His substrate is cypress mulch and nothing else, and this just allows for an ease of cleaning. He's a big animal, he makes a lot of mess. You can see his entire floor is not covered with substrate. That's because he moves it around the way he wants it. I'm actually going to bring him out real quick to give you guys a better look. Now this is a wild-caught Tagu. I'm actually the one who caught him. But best I can tell, he's about 2.5 years old. You can see he's got pretty good length on him. I would estimate he's around 40 inches at this point, and he should be getting plenty bigger. I don't actually know his gender, but I've been calling him a he just because it fits his personality. This guy is an actual velociraptor, and I did name him Blue after the velociraptor from Jurassic World. He's a very friendly animal when he wants to be. I've got plenty of stories about bringing this guy home, having him almost escape during presentations. I actually had to chase him once for about 2 minutes running through the woods next to my house. If he had escaped, he would have been gone forever. He probably would not be alive right now. But I booked it after him, dropped everything I had, and after about 2 minutes managed to put him in a vice grip and carry him back to the house. Because of incidents like that, he actually has a couple things over here to the side of the cage. I've got all my herping stuff down here, but you can see I've got some cat carriers here, and on top are a pair of welding gloves. Those actually come in really good handy. He's not aggressive at all, but he's got big claws, and he doesn't really know his own strength. Also back here there is a rat leash, which comes in handy when I'm doing indoor presentations, but I would never trust it outdoors. So we're going to let Blue go back into his enclosure, and I think we're going to move on to everybody's favorite, Skink, the northern blue-tongued skink, who is right up here. Skink has been moved to arguably a smaller enclosure. This is another vision cage. It's not quite as large as Blue's, but he's got his water dish back here. He's also on a substrate of cypress mulch. You can see him poking his face out. He's got some fake plants back here and a cave in this corner. Now he does not have any UVB light in here, but he does get some light through that pane, and skinks don't really need that quite as much as other varieties of lizard. Here's Skink. He doesn't want to come out right now, but we're going to bring him over here. You can see, as always, he's got that bright blue tongue. He is a beautiful animal. Now this is a northern blue-tongued skink. I call him Skink because I never really came up with a name for him. It's kind of ironic because he's a blue-tongued skink. I named the Tagu blue, but whatever. Skink here still eats about once, maybe twice a week, and he feeds on a mixture of dog food, collard greens, squash, and sometimes I give him the same ground turkey that Blue eats. He's in the middle of shedding, which is why some of the scales on his head are darker. I just took one off there. But Skink's great. He's still really tame. I haven't been taking him out as much, but once he's out of the cage, he is perfectly calm. And while he may not be quite as smart as Blue, he has just as much personality. He is an amazing animal, and I love him to bits. So he's going to go back in here. He's probably going to book it straight for his cave. Yep, there he goes. And we are going to move on to the last large lizard of the bunch. Now, before I go into Spike, I want to point out, I know there were 2 bearded dragons in the last tour. Nothing has happened to Lizzie. She actually lives at the Lago Vista Elementary School now, along with the Gulf Coast toad that was in the previous video. So neither of those guys are here right now, but they are safe and they're doing great over at their current home. So Spike in here is doing much better than in the previous video. I know last time she was battling with some internal parasites. She was taken to the vet, she got all that sorted out, and she is slowly regaining weight. For those who don't know, Spike is a rescue animal. I took her in last December from a family who couldn't take care of her anymore. But she is doing wonderfully, you can see. Even though her eyesight isn't that great, she's got a wonderful feeding response. She will go after anything that moves. But she's doing great. Like I said, she is in a 40-gallon tank. This is the same one she was in last time. She's got a nice pile of driftwood. I think most of this is ash juniper, probably some oak in there. That was all washed up on the shore of a lake. She's got her water dish here, and then over here, sometimes I'll put the UVB light on this side so that she can get closer to it. She's got some fake succulents and a little pile of wood that lets her climb if she so chooses. Her substrate in here is a mixture of sand and potting soil. I believe I use Nature's Care organic potting mix. But this is a naturalistic substrate. It allows for her to dig around, which she will do at times. And there is some debate over whether to house bearded dragons on things like tile, paper towels, or loose substrates like this. And in my opinion, so long as your animal is healthy, ingesting this stuff is not going to be an issue for its digestive system. It can take it. Moving on to the right of this display, we've got probably the most impressive installment in my room, and this is my storage shelf. Over here on the top row is all geckos. The 2 cages on this side house gold dust day geckos. This one's under a bit of remodeling, but this one's doing good. I've got a pair in here, and I've got a lone male in this cage. Now, these guys, as a rule, are very secretive animals, so there's none of them actually out right now. If I move the camera up here, you guys can see, not very clearly, I believe this is the female of the pair. My breeding pair have actually become parents and produced this pair of eggs. I'm letting them incubate in place right now. They gestate for about 45 days before hatching, and once the offspring come out, I'll be putting them in their own separate container and caring for them to the best of my ability. To the right of the gold dusts is my crested gecko, Lemonhead. If we open up this tank, you can see she's got an air plant in the corner, some cork bark tubes, cork bark background. Her substrate is just coconut core. She's got a pothos in the foreground and some snake plants in the background, one of which she is actually hanging out on. So, this is Lemonhead, my crested gecko. You can see she's a bit fired up right now. She has actually gotten much, much larger since the last video. And unfortunately, she has also lost her tail. She's become what a lot of people call a frog butt, but that doesn't hinder her in any way. She and the day geckos all feed on Pangea food every few days. It's a mixture of dry food that you mix with water, put in a dish, and it's a mixture of nectar, fruits, and insect protein. Lemonhead's definitely getting some size on her, some weight, and she's just doing really well in general. She's no particular morph that I know of, but she's got some beautiful markings on her side, and she's a really dark chocolate brown when she's fired up. These are also called eyelash geckos, and you can really see she has some amazing eyes. We're gonna let Lemonhead jump on back in there, close this up, and move on to, I believe, the last lizard. I should probably also point out that this tank, which has been used for both Lemonhead and the day geckos in the past, right now it's pretty empty. I'm using it for storage of a few things, spare containers, decor, stuff like that. Now sadly, the web-footed gecko featured in my last reptile room video has passed away. He passed quietly in his sleep around a month ago, and he was already around 8 years old, which is very old for his species, and he lived a pretty good life. He just slowly stopped eating, started losing a lot of weight in the last few weeks, and then just quietly passed. So it goes without saying that he's not going to be featured in this video. Which means our last lizard is going to be Watney, the Texas banded gecko. Now, a lot of people on my Instagram will actually mistake this guy for a leopard gecko due to his patterning and his coloration, and he looks very, very similar, but he's actually not related at all, other than that he is a gecko. This is a species from West Texas. This is as large as they get. He's about 3 inches, maybe 3.5 total, and he is an adult male. If you watch his movements, you can see that he's kind of waving his tail around in the air, and that's actually a natural defense mechanism. A lot of people think that they use that to mimic scorpions, so that predators are less inclined to eat them. Watney here eats about once or twice a week, and he feeds almost exclusively on small crickets. You can see he's got a nice enclosure here. His hiding spots are a piece of slate tile, half a coconut, and this piece of cholla wood, which is actually where he spends most of his time. He really likes getting in there, and most of the time when I come in here, he'll be sleeping in here during the day. He doesn't have a water dish, but that's because he's a desert species and he gets along just fine with misting the tank. The same goes for the day and crested geckos. They all get misted once or twice daily, and that provides their water intake. And before we get to the snakes, I think I'm actually going to showcase my new and improved amphibian section. Like I said, the Gulf Coast toad is no longer housed at my house. It is actually spending most of its time at the elementary school. So, starting on the left, we have my one and only Sonoran desert toad in a brand new, well, not brand new, it's certainly old, newly refurbished 20-gallon setup. He's been in a 10-gallon tank since I got him, and I figured he could use an upgrade, because he's getting pretty big. In the back, you can see he's got some pieces of cork bark, big piece of, not certain what kind of wood this is, but a big piece of wood to lie on, and some more of the fake succulents that are in Spike's cage. In front here, he's got a water dish that needs to be cleaned out, and his substrate down here is just coconut core, same as the crested and day geckos. You can see he's not too happy to be disturbed, but if I entice him with a superworm, he may well come back out. You can see he's already starting to consider it. Now if you watch his back foot, you can actually see him twitching his toe. That's a natural method that a lot of frogs and toads will actually use to try to lure in insects. And it's something that I've only observed a few times before. There he goes. Awesome. You can see he really is a powerful animal. This is the largest native species of toad to North America, and he will actually get to be even larger than he is now. He's not going to appreciate that I'm messing with him, but you can see he is just about palm-sized right now, and he should grow even larger as he gets older. This is actually probably the second most dangerous animal I have in my room. If you look on his sides here, right here, here, and those big bulges on his legs, those are called his parotid glands, and those actually contain a toxin that is strong enough to kill predators. These are actually notorious where they're from, which is Arizona, New Mexico, the Sonoran Desert, for killing dogs that will attack them. So this is not an animal you want to mess with, but he's completely harmless unless you are a predator who's squeezing on those glands and trying to eat this toad. Over here to his right, we have another, not quite as toxic amphibian, and this is actually someone I haven't shown on the channel before. Right in the back of this 10-gallon tank, you can see, woo, there he goes. This guy is my Cuban tree frog. Now this is actually an invasive species, just like blue the Tagu, in Florida and the southeast United States. Just like the toad, you can see he's not very happy with being messed with, but he is a very big tree frog. This is the largest tree frog in the United States, although they are not a native species. But both of these animals will actually eat almost exclusively superworms. And that is just because superworms are easy to fit in a cup. There's no risk of them ingesting substrate when I feed them in a cup. And they both have pretty strong digestive systems, so they can take them. Now, as harmless as he may seem, these frogs are actually ruthless predators, and they are a very bad invasive species in the southeastern United States. Being as large as they are, they can eat, besides insects, other frogs, lizards, sometimes even small snakes. So in my opinion, it is definitely a good thing to have one less of them out there in the wild. To the right of these two is probably the animal I've had longest in my collection, and she is an adult female African clawed frog. I am going to feed her real quick for you guys. She eats Reptimin Plus floating food sticks. These are formulated for turtles, but they do fit her nutritional requirements. Now, she's in a very basic setup. This is a standard 10-gallon tank. In the back, she's got a flower pot, which she's able to use as a hiding place. She has some lucky bamboo here, and a sponge filter in the back to help keep the water clean. She is a very cool, very unique animal, though. I've had her forever. She was, like I said, I think the oldest animal that's still currently in my collection. She's at least 7, maybe 8 or older. Moving on from amphibians, we're going to pan down and take a look at some snakes. And here is everybody's favorite, Scylla, the Hog Island Boa Constrictor. I'm removing these bricks from the top of her cage. The San Antonio Zoo does a pretty similar thing with their animals. They call these safety stones. So, removed our safety stones. Those are necessary because she is a very strong animal, and we're going to take this lid off and get her out to show you guys. Now, I only fed her 2 days ago, but you can see her feeding response is still pretty strong. Now, Scylla here, along with the python to her right, which we will get into in a moment, both live in standard 20-gallon long tanks. Scylla's substrate is cypress mulch, just like skink and the Tagu. She has some grapevine in here for her to climb on. She has a half log and a little cave over there, which is what she normally hides in. In the center here, she has a water dish, and under the substrate over here, she has a heat pad. Even since the last video, she has grown exponentially. She is a big boa now. Seeing as Scylla is a dwarf subspecies of boa constrictor, the word big is a bit subjective. But since the last video, she has certainly put on a lot of weight and definitely gained some length too. You can see she is an absolutely beautiful animal. She actually gets this coloring because of where she lives. Hog Island boas are native to the Cayos Cochinos, which are a set of islands off the coast of Honduras. And the trait that gives her coloration is called hypomelanism. It means that there's just a reduced amount of pigment in the skin. Not like albinism, she's not albino, but she is certainly lacking some of the pigment that other subspecies of boa constrictor have. And you can see here, if I get out a tape measure, she's a bit squiggled up, but she has just about hit 4 feet long, which means that she only has at most 2, maybe 3 feet to go until she is full grown. She's an absolutely gorgeous snake. This is everybody's favorite at reptile shows and at presentations and things like that because she is so docile. She will sit around your neck for hours. So, we are going to get Scylla back into her enclosure, hopefully without any mishaps, unlike the last reptile room tour. Moving on to the right of her is my blood python Kosho. Now she is also in a standard 20-gallon tank. Instead of cypress mulch, I have her on sphagnum moss because that helps retain humidity better. You can see right now it's at 59%. Normally you want to have it between 60, 70, up to 80%, but I have not refilled the, I've not rehydrated the moss in a while. If my calculations are correct, she should be under this hide. Here she is. She's getting chunky. So, this is Kosho. She is a blood python from Indonesia, and if she'll let me, I'm gonna take her out real quick. Now, she isn't nearly full grown, but Kosho, since my last video, has put on quite a bit of weight and a little bit of length as well. She has also lost quite a bit of her temper since the last video, which means that I've brought her to more educational events, and she has done a great job at those. Looking at her now, I think it might almost be time to upgrade her tank again. She might be going into that big vision cage on top of the skink tank. Now, to the right of these two, on top of this cabinet, is my very first snake, Mort, the Eastern Black-Necked Garter. And she's gotten a pretty good tank upgrade. She's been in this enclosure for quite a while, but as I couldn't maintain any live plants in here, I gave her a big fake ficus and some smaller fake plants down here. And they really get it to look good. She still has a big tillandsia up in this corner. Now, Mort has finally decided to show herself, and you can see her pretty well back there, but she is an adult female Eastern Black-Necked Garter snake. And she is actually native to the area I live in, and she is an absolutely stunning snake. I would estimate she's between 3.5 and 4 feet long. I haven't been able to measure her because she's so, she's still pretty skittish. She is a wild-caught animal, but she has been in captivity for quite a while. And this girl, along with all my other snakes, gets fed once a week. Mort eats 2 fuzzy mice, my younger garter eats 2 pinky mice, and each of the constrictors gets 1 rat. In the last video, she was still hanging out underneath Mort's tank, but right now I have our 4th and final snake over here to the left, on top of Watney's tank. This is Tipsy, the California red-sided garter snake. Now she is doing great. She's still in an Exoterra breeder box. I've kind of simplified her setup a little bit. She's got 1 hide over here, which is a coconut husk. She has a water dish over here, and you can see she's displaying why she's named Tipsy. This is actually a garter snake with a rare genetic disorder. She can't really control with any certainty the direction in which she is slithering, so if she gets excited or scared, she will actually at times begin slithering upside down, and you can see she's trying to bite me. She's gotten a lot more feisty since the last filming. For such a tiny snake, you can really see she has an incredible amount of personality. Now, the condition that Tipsy has, which you can see she's exhibiting right now, is not actually a very harmful condition for her. It's not going to affect her lifespan in any way. She herself is a very healthy snake. She is just a pet-only animal. She will not be bred just in case the trait is passed on to her offspring. Over here to the right of the shelf, away from all the lizards, all the snakes, are our representatives of the turtle and tortoise family. In here is my Russian tortoise Wirt. He is hanging out under this half log right now, and he's been pretty lazy lately because it's the start of winter, but I'll grab him real quick for you guys to see. He's either a released or an escaped pet, but regardless of his past, he lives with me now. He spends his days in this tub. This is a 70-gallon, I believe it's a Sterilite brand tub. I could be wrong about that. He's got a water dish over here, a half log to hide in, some rocks over here to help file down his nails, and he is on a substrate of potting soil, just like the bearded dragon. Now, though I have not enlarged his tub since the last video, he's still doing fine. I may be building an outdoor enclosure for him sometime after winter ends, but we'll wait to see about that. I have changed out his lighting. He used to have a coil bulb, but now he has an 18-inch Zoom-Ed Reptile UVB fixture, and that is housed within the container for an under-cabinet light. Just slides on and off like this. If we move up the hall, we have our representative of the land turtles. Here she is right here. I had to give her a quick spray because she was covered in dirt. But this is my juvenile three-toed box turtle. She's only a few years old. She was born in September of 2014. But she is doing great. She's eating primarily crickets and a mixture of fruits and vegetables every few days. Now this girl lives in a very basic 10-gallon tank. She gets plenty of space because she's still very small, but she's got her water dish in the middle here. She's got a half log, though she rarely uses it. She's constantly burying herself to hide. She's got a little piece of cuttle bone over here which helps provide calcium, and her food dish right here which has some old blueberries in it right now. Now walking back in for the second time, I'm very excited to introduce this setup. In the last video this was just a barren setup, just gravel, the filter, the basking platforms, and nothing else. Well, I am very excited to show you guys my newest additions. These guys only arrived today, a few hours ago, after a few hang-ups with FedEx. And in this tank are two very small, very cute Razorback musk turtles. This is easily the smallest turtle I've ever owned. I haven't come up with names for either of these yet, but this is the one which has a more distinctive pattern on it. You can see both of them are only about the size of a quarter. These are incredibly small turtles. They are called Razorback musk turtles, A, because they musk, but B, because they've got this very distinctive razor, almost saw-like back on them. They've got quite a distinctive shell. And you can see they're just incredibly cute turtles. I'm very excited to work with these guys. If we set this one back on top of here, we might get to watch him tumble back into the water. Now these guys are in a, I believe this is a Zilla Premium Aquatic Turtle setup. It's about the same footprint as a standard 20-gallon long tank. You can see that they are smaller than some of the gravel they've got in there with them. But they've got Carib Sea sand as their substrate, along with some river stones to give it a more natural feel, help them feel camouflaged. They've got some basking platforms, a filter as well, and a light providing UVB and heat. And I've actually got a DIY video of this setup coming up very soon. And these guys are actually going to be eating Reptile floating food sticks along with bloodworms as their primary diet. I managed to find the second one to show you guys. And even in the few hours that I've had them, they have just shown incredibly different personalities. One of them is much shyer, and the other one is much more outgoing. I believe this is the one that first jumped into the water, and the other one waited a solid 30 minutes before following it. They look almost like raw chicken. They've just got these little squishy bits on their arms. Absolutely amazing little turtles. I love the way they just trot. Now that all the reptiles and amphibians are out of the way, we are going to move into some of the creepier, crawlier aspects of my room and look at our invertebrates. In this 2.5-gallon tank is my favorite invertebrate. Her name is Cuddles, and she is an olive-keeled African flat rock scorpion. What I'm going to be doing here, if she'll let me, is getting her out to show you guys. Now she is a fairly docile animal, especially for a scorpion. Flat rocks are typically known to be one of the more handleable species of scorpions, though I would not recommend you try this at home. This is an adult female. They don't get much larger than this, but she is an absolutely amazing animal to work with. She feeds primarily on crickets, and she receives those once every few weeks. She's on a substrate mix of sand and coconut coir, as well as having some slate tiles and a little cat skull in there for decoration and hiding purposes. I've been looking into getting some larger species of these guys, or some whip scorpions, or tailless whip scorpions, but so far Cuddles is definitely the coolest invertebrate I have. So with that said, we are moving on to the right of Cuddles, down here to look at the rest of my invertebrates. On the far left here is actually a new addition, and she's probably the most potentially harmful animal in my room. This is a western black widow. For obvious reasons, I'm definitely not going to be getting this girl out to handle her. I don't think even Coyote Peterson would be doing something like that. but you can get a very clear look at just how beautiful she is. Western black widows, unlike southerns, have these bright red and yellow markings on their abdomens. We are going to screw the lid back on this girl and move on to some of the less venomous invertebrates in my room. In this tub on the left, we have our Madagascar hissing cockroaches. If you're a bit squeamish of bugs, now is the time to look away, but these guys are really nothing to be afraid of. I have 4 of these guys in here, and if I startle one of them, you can hear they absolutely do live up to their name. These are Madagascar hissing cockroaches. They're one of the largest species of cockroach in the world. While grasshoppers and crickets will produce a noise by rubbing their legs together, these guys actually breathe out through these little holes in their back to make the noise. And really, there is no reason to be squeamish of or afraid of these guys. They're very different from the roaches you might find in your house. These are actually from the rainforest, so there's no risk that they're carrying any diseases. They can't fly, they have no wings, and they're really just very docile animals. But they're a little upset that I'm holding them, so I'm going to put these guys back. On the right side here, we have our Sonoran desert millipedes, if we can find any of them. Here's one. These come from the same area as the Sonoran desert toad, in that they are native to Arizona, New Mexico, and West Texas. But if you guys could smell across the internet, you'd be catching a whiff of this guy's chemical defense. Most millipedes actually produce a cyanide compound, which they use to defend themselves against predators. And it does have quite an odor to it. So I'm going to release this guy back into his tub, and we are going to let him be on his way. Both of these tubs actually have a substrate consisting mostly of oak leaves and potting soil, and they both have these dishes of water-storing crystals. In the roach tub, we have a selection of corrugated cardboard that they use as hides, and in the millipede tub, they have cork bark and bits of moss. On the right-hand side of my shelf is my aquarium. Those who've seen my last video will remember that I had 2 aquariums at that time. In the meantime, I've lost some of those fish, and I just decided to put the remainder into a 10-gallon for ease of maintenance and for space. The Sonoran desert toad is actually in the old 20-gallon tank. Now, there are 8 residents of this tank. 3 of those are actually Nerides snails. I've got 2 olive Nerides and 1 tiger Nerides snail in here. You can see coming up to the front, this is the star of the tank. He is my albino Senegal Bashir. His name is Pancake. He has actually grown a fair bit since my last video, and I think he's a very personable fish. He has a lot of attitude. He is very attentive at feeding time, and he should grow to be quite a bit larger than this. As adults, Senegal Bashirs typically range between 8 and 14 inches long. And the fish he's passing now may not be the easiest to spot, but if you look in the center of all this gravel right here, you can see the other primary resident in this tank. And he is what's known as a banjo catfish. He's from the Amazon. We're going to grab a fish net and see if we can't get him to come out. Here he comes. Now he is a very cool catfish. He's not all that large. He's only about 4 or 5 inches, and that's as big as he's going to get. But he is an awesome fish, and he's just so prehistoric looking. Both of them really are. I have one final animal to show you guys, and though she's a mess, she's definitely one of my favorites. Down here, this is Gus Gus, the domestic rat. Now, Gus was featured in my last video. She was actually given to me by a friend at school who couldn't care for her any longer. And she's a very personable animal. I really enjoy rats as pets. I've had 4 at this point. Gus here is in a 3-story wire cage. On the bottom floor, you can see she's got a big blue igloo, some cardboard boxes, and a paper towel tube. I believe this is a store brand bedding, but it is corrugated cardboard and paper recycled. Her second story doesn't have anything on it currently, though she does sometimes have food dishes or toys up here. And then the third story, where she spends most of her time, she's got her nest box over there, she's got a little hammock here, her food dish, her water bottle, a chew toy, some towels, and some cardboard boxes. And she does eat a formulated rat diet. I'm going to give her some right now. I just pour this stuff for her daily and leave it for her in the cage. And of course she gets fruits, vegetables, all manner of foods as treats. As I'm about to close this video, I want to say thank you. It's been just over a year since I started this channel, and in that short amount of time, I've amassed over 10,000 subscribers. I'm astonished that the channel has grown this fast, and I am incredibly impressed by and thankful for your continued support. The last reptile room tour is about to hit 500,000 views, and that really impresses me. I guess at this point I have to consider myself one of the larger YouTube channels of my genre. I am just incredibly thankful for you guys and for your continued support. If you aren't already a subscriber, if this is your first time watching, feel free if you'd like to subscribe or sign up to get notified when I release new content. Leave a comment if you enjoy it or if you have a suggestion. And if you'd like, you can also follow me on Instagram at AfroHerpkeeper, or if you're interested, you can also purchase some of my artwork on my Redbubble page, also at AfroHerpkeeper. I think that's a pretty good place to close. So with all that said, thank you guys again so much, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Finally back again with another reptile room tour.